Welcome to Self-Publishing with Ally, proudly sponsored by Publish Me, helping indie authors succeed globally with expert translation, tailored marketing, and publishing support. From first draft to international launch, Publish Me ensures your book reaches readers everywhere. Visit publishme.me. And now, here's your host for Self-Publishing with Ally, Dan Holloway.
Hello, welcome to the Self-Publishing News, and this is the first of the Self-Publishing News podcast that I have recorded this year, so I will take it as an opportunity to wish you yet another Happy New Year. I hope 2026 is treating and will carry on treating you exceptionally well and better than 2025. So we start with the Nebula Awards. The Nebula Awards are run by the Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers Association. They're one of the major sets of awards for fantasy and science fiction, and they are a really important set of awards for us because they are actively indie-friendly awards. So all you have to do in order to be eligible to participate is to be a member of the SFWA. So, important set of awards. What are they getting in trouble about? It is rules around AI and eligibility. So this is something that is going to be increasingly causing problems for anyone who runs awards or anything that has eligibility terms in general. Is how do you police AI generated content and the use of AI in general? How do you sort of draw the line that is often being drawn these days between assistive AI on the one hand, so spell checking tools and so on, and generative AI on the other? And the controversy arose here because they came out with a set of rules in December that would have allowed AI generated content provided that it was fully disclosed. So the original rules said, yep, you can use AI provided you disclose that you do so. And if you go to File 770 website, there is a really interesting set of comparisons. I will read some of them, but I encourage you wholeheartedly to go and look at all of them, and I will put the link in for Howard to include, between the rules that were proposed and what then happened on the same day when there was a massive pushback and those rules were rescinded, and they were rescinded in favour of a blanket ban on AI. So there are some things that seem sort of relatively uncontroversial changes, such as works that are wholly written using generative large language model tools are not eligible for the previous text. That you can see why that would have caused some outrage, because the keyword there is wholly. The rule change was very simply to works that are written either wholly or partially by generative large language model tools are not eligible. So that goes from you can use it some of the time, you can use it to do this, that and the other, to a complete blanket ban. The most controversial, however, is the original rule. Works that used LLMs at any point during the writing process must disclose this upon acceptance of the nomination, and the nature of the technology's use will be made clear to voters in the final ballot. The point there being that you could have used it to do research, you could have used it to do spell checking, you could have used it also to generate text, but it would be up to voters to decide. So the Nebulas are a voted on by members set of awards. Voters could have decided how they wanted to treat that knowledge. The new text is simply works that used LLMs at any point during the writing process must disclose this upon acceptance of the nomination, and those works will be disqualified. So it is now a blanket ban, and it is that blanket ban that has now caused another set of pushback, this time in the opposite direction. Hugely well articulated in a letter from Erin Underwood, which again I wholly recommend that you read in full. It's a very long, very detailed letter. The long and the short of it is, well, I guess there are two bits. The first is, how on earth do you police this? The second is there is no nuance here, and nuance is what is needed in a changing landscape like this. In particular, because there are lots of different ways that even LLMs that are generative can be used. It is not the case that you can draw this. This is the point that she's making. You can draw this distinction between spell check tools on the one hand and generative AI that can write your essay for you on the other, because some of these assistive tools are powered by generative AI large language models. And in particular, one of the things that people have been talking about is research. If you use a search bar to find out information, to do your research for a novel, it is very likely that what is returned will involve the use of a large language model to have produced it. And how do we actually live with the complex reality we are now in? It is something that inevitably is going to come up again and again and again. The Nebulas, the science fiction and fantasy community is always a community that is at the forefront of these discussions. So it feels like this is a case where they're probably doing a lot of the heavy lifting on behalf of the rest of us. So anyway, I do recommend that you go and read the sources that I will try to remember to link to. The other news, really big news, that is also AI related is carrying on from something I mentioned previously, and that is around Kindle's Ask This Book feature. So you'll remember this is the thing that uses AI so that people can highlight text in a Kindle and say, tell me more about this. So this might be, tell me a bit about what this character has done to date, or a character does something and you say, based on what's happened previously, what can you tell me about why they're doing this, and so on. And this feature has now produced some really quite serious feedback, and it has been articulated by the Authors Guild in the US, and they have highlighted various issues. In particular, though, what is interesting is that they have had a response from Amazon, which is something that had not seen elsewhere, and that response from Amazon points out a couple of things that they think means that what they're doing is okay. So first is that anything that's produced or used isn't used for general training. Secondly, and this is the one that is really focused in on, that you can search Kindles already. This is something that they already allow readers to do. They're just expanding that, and therefore they don't need a license to do it. And then they use the immersive argument, that is, readers have been clicking away to go and look these things up on Google for years. We're just letting them do it within the context of the book. And the AG's response doesn't take kindly to these. They use the phrase possibly creating a derivative use. So it's not that this is something that they already do. It's not an expansion of search. It is possible, and there's lots of very careful hedging language. It is possible that this is a derivative use, so that what is produced is actually a work in and of itself, and it is a work that has been produced based on the original book. So it's more than that, and therefore you might need a license for it. And that is the key point that is being got across here, is that licensing rights are going to be key in this new landscape, and therefore authors need to be able to negotiate those without them just being taken for granted or considered not needed. So there we go. 2 big controversies to start the year with. There will be many more as the year progresses, and I will be here to tell you all about them and provide some fascinating links for you to go and do some more research that is powered by primary sources and not AI summaries. So with that, thank you very, very much, and I look forward to speaking to you again at the same time next week.
You've been listening to Self-Publishing with Ally, proudly sponsored by PublishMe, helping indie authors succeed globally with expert translation, tailored marketing, and publishing support. From first draft to international launch, PublishMe ensures your book reaches readers everywhere. Visit publishme.me. And if you haven't already, we invite you to join our association and become a self-publishing ally. You can do that at allianceindependentauthors.org.